Okay, complete the sentence. This one we've had a lot of people struggle on, especially in Minimock 3. So you want to make sure that you really understand this, because you don't get to try these questions again in our classes until around May, when we start doing full mock exams. So I'm going to quickly go over how to do this question, and also I'm going to read through the instructions and see what it's telling us to do. So here it says, what information are we looking for? Let's have a read of the instructions. It says, in this question type, you'll receive a sentence featuring 2 sets of 3 words. You want to stop there. Don't overload yourself with information. First, read the first few words in the sentence in this instruction, and then look at the example. This is how you should read all of your instructions. So it says, this question type, you'll receive a sentence, and then it lists out, it says you're going to have 2 sets of 3 words. So let's look at the example and see what they're talking about. So where are the 3 words that they're talking about? I see 3 words here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And where are the 2 sets? You can see here, this is set 1 of the 3 words, and this is set 2 of the 3 words, okay? So we know what they're talking about now. Let's continue on reading the instructions. Enclosed in brackets, okay, so that's just saying that these are enclosed in brackets. Your task is to identify 1 word from each group. Okay, first let's stop again there. 1 word from each group. So which groups are they talking about? Same thing as again, they're talking about these 2 different groups or different sets, different ways of saying it basically. And it says 1 word from each group that when inserted into a sentence establishes a logical relationship between them. Okay, I think it says into the sentence, right? So that there's another keyword that we have to figure out, like what is it talking about? What sentence is it talking about? So I see it here. This is a whole sentence. This whole thing is a sentence. And what it's asking us to do is choose 1 word from each of them that will basically fill out the sentence. So it's like a multiple choice question where we just have to fill out the sentence. So it says establish a logical relationship between them. So it says shoe is to something as glove is to something. And whatever we put in here will have to make logical sense. So if we say shoe is to a boat and glove is to a banana, that doesn't really make any sense, right? And that'll be the same thing with the options. We have to make them make sense logically. Okay, the challenge is to find 2 words that share a similar relationship within the context of the sentence. So again, it's just basically saying make sure that the sentence that you make with these options actually makes sense. So let's actually have a read of this sentence and see how they figure it out. So what they do here is, first of all, they seem to try all of these different options. A shoe has no relationship with a head, is what they say. So we can't use head, right? Shoe is to head doesn't make sense. They ask about arm. Does shoe relate to arm in any way? No. So they cross that out. But shoe is to foot. That sort of makes sense, right? Shoe and foot are quite similar, and actually your shoe goes on your foot. So there's a logical relationship there. Now what we have to do is use that relationship and figure out what this is going to be. So a shoe is worn on a foot. That means whatever we choose here, it's going to be this, has to be the same thing. So if a shoe is worn on a foot, that means we have to figure out what is a glove worn on, and then that is going to be the answer. So it actually does that right here. Is a glove worn on a leg? No. Is it worn on an arm? No. It's worn on a hand. And there you go. So shoe is to foot as glove is to hand. It's a bit of a weird sentence. It's not something that you would say in actual English, but it makes logical sense because a shoe is worn on a foot and a glove is worn on a hand. And that's how you have to think about these. First of all, you need to find a relationship between one of these words in the brackets and whatever it is here, and then you use that relationship on both of them. Hopefully that is simple enough and makes enough sense. Best way to do it is to go through some of these examples, and I'll hopefully show you how I think about it as well. So paper is to something as metal is to something. So there's a lot of things here that you could say relate, but we have to figure out like what makes the most logical sense. So paper is to pen, and that sort of makes sense because a pen would be writing on a paper. Paper is to pulp. Is that pulp? I think. Yeah, paper is to pulp. That doesn't really make any sense. Paper is to book. That would make sense because the paper goes in a book. So both of these could be a logical relationship. We need to choose one that will actually work with this second option as well. So let's look at what metal has here. So it says metal is to ore. So that sort of means like the metal is found in an ore, the same way paper is found in a book. So that sort of makes sense. Let's see if there's any way we can do the paper to pen relationship and find that in the metal here. So if pen is used to write on paper, we need something that is used to do something to metal. So mine is done to metal, I guess. And iron is a metal. That doesn't give us any relationship that we could use. Even though iron is a metal, there's nothing here that is paper. So it can't be iron. Let's cross that out. We're left with these two, right? So a mine, you could say metal is found in a mine. Or you could say it's found in an ore. You could say metal is mined. But what I'd say is pen to paper is a very different relationship here, because a pen has to be used. The only relationship there is pen is used to write on paper. There's nothing here used to write on metal. And if there was something here used to write on metal, if one of the words was, I don't know what you'd use to write on metal, but if it was a word like that, then the relationship would work. But it wouldn't work without that. So we have to cross out pen. And the reason why book is going to work is because paper is found in a book, the same way metal is found in an ore. And that is the best logical relationship that we can come up with. I think the answers here on this book, actually, they've got it as pulp to ore. I think that's just a mistake, so hopefully that'll get fixed. In my opinion, the answer is book to ore. Anyway, let's go on to question 2, and we're going to use the same framework of thinking to go through this. First of all, we're going to figure out what can we actually relate to these, and then see is there anything on the second one that relates in the same way. So actually rabbit sort of relates to all of these because they eat vegetables, they burrow, and they also live on the earth. So I'm going to look at the chicken one first. So chicken is to oven. You could say chicken goes in the oven. Actually though, there's nothing here that a rabbit goes into to get cooked, right? So I'm going to cross that out. I don't think it's going to be that. What it says here is chicken is to wing. So that means chicken has a wing. There's nothing here that a rabbit has, so I wouldn't go with wing. So we're left with only one option here, coop. And a chicken coop is somewhere where you keep chickens, or where they might stay. Usually it'll be somewhere where you keep chickens, but we can use the relationship that chickens, they all stay in a coop. That's sort of like their home, where they will sleep, where they will stay, right? So where will a rabbit stay? It won't stay in a vegetable, so we can cross that off. It won't stay in earth. It might stay on the earth, but it won't stay in the earth. The burrow, obviously I thought of it as a verb when I first looked at it, because a rabbit can burrow through and like dig through holes, but a burrow can also be just a hole. You can use that as the definition. Yeah, here we go. So a burrow is a hole or a tunnel dug by a small animal. A rabbit can stay in a burrow, and that is why we're going to be left with burrow and coop. So rabbit is to burrow, as chicken is to coop. These are places where the animal stays inside. Let's go to question 3. Purple is to something as falcon is to something. So I see a few here. Purple band, I'm not sure. I don't see any relationship with purple and band. I know purple is a colour, and purple and red is also another colour. So let's have a look. That should have a U, to be fair. But okay, as falcon is to something. So if purple is a colour, we could use that. We just need to find what is falcon, right? If we have a relationship that falcon is something, that will work. So falcon isn't the sky. Falcon is a bird, and it is not a mammal. So yeah, there you go. Purple is a colour. Falcon is a bird. That's the relationship there. Although it says is to, you need like something that makes it make sense. So is a works here. For here it'll be rabbit lives in burrow, chicken lives in coop, right? So this is sort of like the relationship that we're establishing here. Even though it says is to, it's just a general way of saying it. So we'll do a few more. We'll do up to question 6, and I'll leave the rest to you, and you can leave some of them in the comments. I'll pin the one who gets all of the last few right. So if you do all of these, if you give me the answers to these and you get them all right, I'll pin you. But okay, let's do the next few. Beacon. Beacon is to what? Okay, beacon is, well, I'd say a beacon is a light, so that's sort of, that could work. It could be used as a signal or a warning, so that sort of works as well. Let's have a look at what siren is. So a siren is a sound. It can be used by a hospital, and it can be used on a car. But these are all instances of where they can be used. I think it'll be much easier to just say a siren is a sound. And then what is a beacon then? Although these are things that they can be used as, a beacon is a light. And the reason why I go with is as a relationship is because it's much more specific. Whereas you can say a beacon can be used as a signal, but then you could really use a siren can be used in a hospital or in a car. It can be used in loads of places. It's a bit too vague. You want something that matches the best for both of these, and that's why I would go with beacon is the light and sound. Okay, let's go through the last few questions. So square. Question 5. Square is to something. Sorry. There's a lot of things that would work here again. So square has 4 sides. Oops. A square has 4 sides, so that would work as a relationship. A square to a cube, so you could say square. A 3D square is a cube, or a plane. You can say a square is only in one-dimensional plane. A 2-dimensional plane, sorry. Let's have a look at what triangle is saying. Well, there isn't anything that says triangle is to 3, so we can't use the relationship of 4. We can't say square has 4 sides, so triangle has something sides, because there is no option. So we've crossed that out. If a square is to a cube, that's the 3D version of it. What's the 3D version of a triangle? This one you might not know, but here's a picture, and you can see here, this is what a tetrahedron looks like. And actually you'll probably be able to figure out what the answer is from that. And the tetrahedron, triangle, a 3D version of a triangle, sort of like a pyramid, is a tetrahedron, and a square is a cube. And you can actually figure that out even if you don't know what tetrahedron means. Most people know that it's a type of shape, and you'll be able to tell. And what you'll know is triangle to angle doesn't make any sense. The only relationship there really is obviously a triangle has angles, but that wouldn't work with the square. But what you could say is angle is in the last few words of the triangle, but then you'd need like square or where to work. But anyway, there's no real relationship that can make triangle to angle work for square to plane, right? Which is why cube and tetrahedron would work the best, and actually you should be able to figure that out even if you don't know what tetrahedron means. So let's do the final one, question 6. Tuesday is to Sunday, Wednesday or Saturday. Okay, so this one is going to be an interesting one. April is to something. What I'm thinking here, because it's a month, I would assume it's going to be like how many days in advance. So Tuesday is 1 behind Wednesday. It's actually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's 5 behind Sunday, and it's 4 behind Saturday. So let's see what April is looking like. April is 1 behind May, and actually I think that would probably make the most sense. So if you go from Tuesday to Wednesday, you go from April to May. And actually that's just gonna be my answer straight away, because the other ones are less likely to hit that. And yep, that's about it. What I'll do is I'll let you answer the rest of these and leave them in the comment section, and I'll pin whoever gets them right. Hopefully that was useful.